Time has always been one of the greatest mysteries of human existence. Long before people had machines or scientific instruments, they already sensed the rhythm of the world around them. The rising and setting of the sun, the phases of the moon, and the change of the seasons gave structure to life. Ancient farmers knew when to sow seeds and when to harvest by watching the heavens. Hunters and gatherers followed the cycle of daylight and darkness. Even without clocks, time was always present, guiding human activity. But as societies grew, people needed more precise ways to measure it. This is the story of how human beings moved from natural rhythms to sundials, water clocks, mechanical gears, and eventually the modern devices that rule our lives today. The earliest attempts to measure time were based on the sun. Around 3500 BCE, in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, people built obelisks, tall stone pillars that cast shadows. As the sun moved across the sky, the shadow shifted, marking the passage of the day. This idea evolved into the sundial, one of the first true instruments of timekeeping. By placing a stick or gnomon in the ground and watching the shadow move across marked divisions, people could divide the day into hours. Sundials were elegant, but they had obvious limits. They only worked when the sun was shining. At night, or on cloudy days, time seemed to disappear. To solve this, ancient civilizations experimented with other methods. The Egyptians developed the water clock, also known as the clepsydra. It was a simple but ingenious device. Water dripped at a steady rate from one container to another, and markings on the vessel showed how much time had passed. Unlike sundials, water clocks worked day and night, indoors and outdoors. The Greeks and later the Romans refined them further, adding gears and floats to regulate the flow. In China, great towers with elaborate water-driven mechanisms kept time for entire cities. These devices were not perfectly accurate, but they gave a sense of steady passing minutes and hours, something humanity had never had before. Candles and oil lamps also became tools for measuring time. In medieval Europe and Asia, people made candles with evenly spaced markings. As the wax burned down to each line, a predictable amount of time had passed. Monasteries sometimes used special lamps filled with oil, marked by levels that burned at steady rates. These simple methods helped regulate daily prayers and activities, offering another rhythm of life. A revolution in timekeeping began in the Middle Ages with mechanical clocks. By the 13th century, the first weight-driven clocks appeared in European church towers. They were massive machines with gears and iron frames, regulated by a mechanism called the verge and foliot. These clocks struck bells to mark the hours, calling townspeople to work, worship, or rest. For the first time, time was no longer just personal or natural. It became communal, a shared structure for society. The ringing of the bell tower created a rhythm that united entire cities. As craftsmanship improved, mechanical clocks became more accurate and more widespread. By the 15th century, spring-driven mechanisms allowed smaller clocks that could be kept indoors. Clockmakers decorated them with beautiful dials and hands, turning them into symbols of wealth and learning. The invention of the pendulum by Christian Huygens in 1656 transformed precision. The pendulum swing gave a steady, reliable beat, reducing errors from minutes to seconds per day. For the first time in history, people could measure time with remarkable accuracy, opening the door to new science, navigation, and industry. Accurate clocks were not only a scientific wonder, but also a practical necessity. At sea, sailors struggled to determine their longitude, their position east or west, which was essential for safe navigation. The breakthrough came in the 18th century when John Harrison, an English clockmaker, created a series of marine chronometers. His timepieces were precise enough to keep time on long voyages, allowing sailors to compare the position of the sun with the exact hour at home. With this knowledge, ships could chart their location across vast oceans. Harrison's work saved countless lives and helped expand global trade and exploration. Meanwhile, in daily life, clocks grew smaller and more personal. Pocket watches became fashionable in the 16th and 17th centuries. By the 19th century, they were essential accessories for gentlemen, railway workers, and businessmen. The growing railway networks demanded exact timetables, and watches became tools of discipline and order. No longer was time flexible. It became precise and binding. The introduction of standardized time zones in the late 19th century further reinforced this new order. For the first time, large regions of the world agreed on shared times, making schedules and communication possible across great distances. The next leap came with electricity. In the 20th century, electric clocks replaced mechanical winding with steady electric currents. These devices were easy to maintain, reliable, and inexpensive, making accurate time available in schools, factories, and homes. Soon, wristwatches became the standard way to carry time everywhere. During the First World War, soldiers found pocket watches inconvenient, so they strapped them to their wrists. This simple change created the modern wristwatch, which quickly spread into everyday fashion. Today, the most accurate timekeepers are atomic clocks. Developed in the mid-20th century, these instruments use the vibrations of atoms, usually cesium or rubidium, to measure time with extraordinary precision. An atomic clock can keep time so accurately that it would lose less than a second in millions of years. These clocks now define the global standard of time, guiding everything from GPS satellites to the internet. Without atomic clocks, modern technology, navigation, and global communication would not be possible. The story of timekeeping shows more than just technical progress. It reflects how human life has changed. Early societies lived by natural rhythms: sunrise, sunset, seasons. With sundials and water clocks, people learned to divide the day. With mechanical clocks, time became organized and communal. With pocket watches and time zones, it became personal and global. And with atomic clocks, time is now universal and exact, connecting the entire planet in a single shared beat. Yet despite all these advances, time remains both familiar and mysterious. We live by it, measure it, and sometimes feel ruled by it, but no one can truly hold it. From the shadow of a sundial to the pulse of an atom, the human search to capture time has shaped our history, our science, and our daily lives. It is a reminder that while we may count every second, the flow of time itself remains eternal. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment to join the journey through history. See you in the next video.